On it right now, though. Literally, this is just coming to me. Like, there wasn't really a great way to kill her off, so I guess it probably came down to that. It was like, okay, we've killed everybody in these unique, crazy ways. Like, what's going to be the spin-off that's going to relate to the title, that's also going to relate to the art world? And looking at it that way, like on paper, sure, it was a good death. But watching it on the movie, I don't know. I didn't like it. Were you a fan of it?
I was gonna say that hers and the sphere one were my two favorites, and nothing else matters.
Yeah.
All the other deaths don't matter.
The Sphere one was good. Now the Sphere death she's referring to is Toni Collette's character, Gretchen. There was this art exhibit where people would stick their arm into the exhibit and it would give a sensation based on your current emotion set or whatever, they deemed it worthy of. And she was in there kind of by herself. She stuck her arm in, and you knew it was gonna happen. The second she puts her arm, you're like, she's fucked.
Like,
yeah,
but,
don't do it.
But it's like great.
No, it was great. It was still,
fun.
it was cool to see it.
They didn't let you down.
That,
you knew what was coming.
Again, I didn't love the death itself wasn't great to me. Like she puts her arm in when she, well, no, it was good. But when she pulls her arm out and you see her arm completely ripped off. The CGI wasn't great on it.
No, I don't think it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
Again, I think it's like Kill Bill samurai scene or like something like that. Like it's awesome. Like it's just bloody, gory, not real, and hilarious, but also dark at the same time.
True. You get a little bit of a chuckle out of something you probably shouldn't be chuckling at, but it was So from that point, they eventually. Her character, bleeds out. She dies in the middle of this art room, in the middle of this art exhibit. And the next day, the showroom opens prior to any of the employees there seeing, the scene that was there, her dead body with blood all over the floor. And it was great because you eventually see these kids come in on like some school field trip or whatever it was, and even they, as well as like, several other people that they mentioned throughout it, see this dead body with blood splattered and next to this art exhibit, and they think it's part of the art show. And I thought, again, similar to how you thought the death was, it was comical, but it was also dark, and it was just such a good mesh of it that it made you appreciate it.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome.
The kids I don't know how many kids would like dance around in like the art thing, and then like no teachers would say like don't step in that. But either way, and then
what movie is that? In what, Scream 2, where they think that when the woman goes in front of the opening scene of Scream or whatever, slasher, and she's screaming because she just got stabbed, but everybody thinks she's part of the movie and nobody reacts. It's that.
Well, that's a good reference. Awesome. Another good reference. Look at this. She's gonna be a regular on the podcast. That was good. Yeah, we watched that not too long ago also, and I remember seeing that, and it's like you'd probably think that. And you know what? Not to get dark, we're on a good set of emotions, but that was something that in the Dark Knight, when that movie was released and that the shooter shot up the movie theater, I think he released like smoke bombs, and then he started shooting people, and a lot of people thought, people that weren't deceased from the environment were saying that they thought it was just part of the show, like it was just an experience to the movie, and you can't really blame them. But yeah, similar to that Scream 2 scene, and then in this, we'll get back to the lighter note. It was comical. It was them just seeing this woman who was this kind of bitchy little thing become a part of the art exhibit as her dead body, and then Coco's character, who literally I think found every dead body in the movie.
Poor little Nancy from Stranger Things. She just had the worst luck.
Yeah.
She kept being somebody else's new assistant as her first boss, second boss, third boss gets killed off. She finds her boss's bodies every single time. And they kind of make it funny. Like,
they did. Like, it got to another point, it was like, okay, he's about to die. Like, oh, here we go. Where's Nancy?
Like, don't hire her.
Yeah, if you hire Nancy. Yeah, Nancy could have been the curse. What if that was like some spin-off of it? It's actually Nancy who caused these people to die. And not the art. Right, yeah, everyone. Coco. But she'll never be known to anybody other than Nancy. Let's be real. She's typecasted. But continuing on with the deaths. Josephina's death was probably the most creative, where that graffiti painting kind of started leaking as she was on a phone call trying to get a car towed, and the paint just kind of seeped into her body and eventually like went back into the wall, and she became part of it. And you never really saw her die, but you did see her just, her painted face in the midst of that graffiti work. That lays somewhere in the middle of my death ranks for the movie. It was original. I didn't think it was like great, but I thought it was original.
It was definitely like the most artsy for sure, clearly with all the paint and all that. And she always wanted to be somebody and like make a name for herself, and in the end she kind of did. She's part of the artwork now.
Right. No, I agree. And then what I missed, I would put her death probably as number 2 and go. I'm gonna retract my thought process. John Dondon, he was the mustached guy who was hung by his own scarf when the film in the art room went on, and he went to kind of examine and explore it. I thought that was okay. He went to fix the flickering light, and eventually like an arm who you assumed was Deese's arm came down and grabbed his scarf and hung him. As we mentioned, the fashion of the movie was so well done. The fashion ended up killing him in this, but I don't know. I thought that was okay.
Yeah, I thought it was the most normal horror way to die out of the film.
Yeah, that's accurate. And then I thought Jake Gyllenhaal's death was my favorite. We talked about this before. There's a robot scene in the trailer, and he just gives off this creepy, ominous vibe. We've used that word a few times in this, but it's true. It's what it was. And you kind of expected him to be a bit more relevant in the actual film, and you really only saw him in, I think, 2 scenes.
Yeah, in the beginning and the very end.
Yeah, and it wasn't like he was this robot that had like these exquisite skills or anything like that. He was literally just an art piece who was probably put together by essentially like garbage pieces and crutches and you name it. And then eventually Jake Gyllenhaal's character is back in the art exhibit, where he is chased and ran down by this robot thing. And I don't know, that scene gave me the most excitement, if you will. I don't know. I felt like I didn't know it was going to happen. I was sitting there still thinking, I was still a little optimistic that he was going to live because of his article release that kind of tried to save people. And so I'm sitting there like, okay, how strong is this robot thing going to be? Is he going to be able to get away from it? What's going to happen here? And as it caught him, towards the end of it kind of locked him in. It slammed his crutch on the wall. You realize he had this exquisite speed and strength, and he pinned Jake up on the wall and eventually just kind of snapped his neck. But the way it was done, the way it was filmed, I liked it. I thought that was my number 1 death of the movie. I definitely, if you could enjoy a death in a movie, I think that's the way I looked at it.
Yeah, it was definitely probably the only chase in the movie. Like, you're used to, like the killer chasing the person or whatever, like the ghost chasing. But, yeah, he was chased, and I was definitely on the edge of my seat for that one. The rest of the movie did not have me on the edge of my seat whatsoever. It was just kind of like a build-up. But that was definitely probably the creepiest scene, I would agree.
Yeah, it was definitely... It was something. I can't remember which order, if he died... I think he was one of the last to die.
I think he was second last.
Yeah, I think then Rene Russo's character was last. But the movie, all in all, I'll give my rating at the end of the podcast. But it had its ups and downs. Again, this is something we discussed after watching the movie. I didn't love the movie. I was entertained by it. I would recommend it. I would tell people they should watch it. But again, from like a critic standpoint, I'm going to be a little harsher on it. But when it ended with the velvet buzzsaw tattoo sawing of her neck, I was not thrilled. I did not like that final death. It was kind of whatever. But it did have its up and downs, like I said. But then, as it rolled into the credits, we saw John Malkovich's character, who was spared because it was understood that he didn't profit from any of the artwork.
Yeah, he was... Sorry to
interrupt. No, go ahead.
He was lucky enough to be told by Rene Russo's character to go to her beach house. He was also an artist in the film, and he was having, artist block. And Rene Russo was like, go to my beach house, go enjoy yourself, get away from the world and get away from it all, disconnect and, connect back to your artistic self. So he has no idea what's going on with all this. So if you want to cut back in.
Yeah, no, it was just, you see him, and it was kind of, you don't know if he was like celebrating, like, oh, I'm alive, or if it was this like insane moment, like, oh my god, everybody I know is dead, and now I'm just this insane person dancing on the beach creating my next piece of art. Or maybe it was like his release from his art block, whatever you want to call it, and then that was, his new piece of work on the beach, that he was just taking credit for and maybe not going to do anything about. But I liked it. It brought me back up. It put me back on a high note. I just remembered watching that, and the way it was filmed, I don't know, like they took a shot that was probably done on some sort of a what are those things called? Like
a drone?
Yeah, it was likely done on a drone, or else some sort of camera that was highly elevated on a mount. But it was just, I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was done very well. The beach looked beautiful. The shot looked well. It was a great time of the day to shoot it, and it gave you a little bit more of like that uppity feel. Like, when you watch a horror movie and everybody you fucking know dies in it. And it's like, if you watch Saw or you watch a Tarantino movie or anything like that, you just kind of expect everybody to die. And it was nice seeing, after this death of everybody we'd seen from major character standpoint, and then all of a sudden you see his character, like, oh yeah, there he is, like,
totally
he's alive. Yeah, this is nice.
Still
okay. Yeah, so I liked it. I liked, the way that ended, and it was good.
I definitely saw it from a different point of view than you. I interpreted it differently. Like, okay, so, Buzzsaw, she's killed by death of her own tattoo. So it's kind of like this over-the-top, kind of like silly but dark way of dying. And it's like, okay, it cuts out the end. She's dead. And then it just cuts into the credits, like you said. And you just see John Malkovich, happy as a pig in shit, just like going around the beach with a stick, like drawing in the sand, and like the waves are coming up and washing some of it away, and he's just like running around with a stick. And I kind of thought that he just had no idea anything that had just happened. I thought that he was totally oblivious, and he's still just like disconnected from everyone. And it's like this hilarious juxtaposition against like everything we just saw, and he's just like do 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 do, like totally unaware.
Right.
Like that's how I saw it, and I thought it was hilarious and a great way to end it. And just kept going.
Yeah.
Kept going. Little swirls in the sand.
No, it was a good. Yeah, I put that, like you said, that happy kind of feel. Well, like I said, that happy kind of feel to it, and I don't know. It was nice. It was good to see. And then you kind of, if you're thinking outside of the film afterwards, it's like, okay, so what's gonna happen next? Like, let's say they were to make a sequel, or if any discussions in the movie world were to be had, like what happens after this movie's done? Like, what happens to the people who have the art? Like, do they die, or is it to the people who sell it die? Do the paintings become more valuable, less valuable? Do they? I don't know. It's just one of those things that, like, it leaves you thinking a little bit. I don't think there's going to be a sequel to the movie. I really don't, and I don't think it's needed. They'll have to recast most of it or just make these other characters bigger. But I don't know. There's definitely some thoughts to be had afterwards, and I don't know.
I thought they ended it just right. John Malkovich, happy as a clam.
Yeah.
I think it was just like, okay, it's over now. And I think that's what they meant for it to be. But
yeah.
Who knows?
I agree. I also liked, and it was something I mentioned, this is definitely backtracking, Jake Gyllenhaal's character paired with Josephina, so it would be Morph and Josephina, the bond that I mentioned earlier. I did want to dive into it a little more, and I didn't get into it. This will probably be the closing and then our final ratings. But I thought, I don't know, it was cool. It was unique. It was something you saw, like this man who you understood to be fully gay, who had a boyfriend, and he just kind of, I felt like they wrote him to be understood, that he was a gay man, and that was that. And then when you saw this unique relationship, you think, like, okay, is he bi, or does he just have such an incredible bond with this woman that he could find love in another sex? And
this is what made me dislike Josephine